Hey, my lovely goal-getters. Welcome to the Moms Making Money Show. I'm your host, Amie Pederson, business mentor and confidence coach for the emerging boss mom. It's my mission to help amazing women just like you up-level yourself and your business because you are meant for more than wiping boogers and folding laundry. I'm also a wife, mother, urban farmer, influencer, green juice enthusiast, and an unapologetic lover of cowboy boots. I can't wait to help you grow your business by sharing my tips, tricks, proven business strategy, experience, and incredible guests. Hang on tight and enjoy the show. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends and educational partners over at Podia. That's Podia.com. And the cool thing about Podia is that they are a super user-friendly platform that is basically all in one. It takes care of your email marketing, whether you are setting up an automation or you are sending out a one-time newsletter. They take care of hosting a membership site, so you don't have to use social media to host your memberships. They also take care of your digital downloads. So this works perfect for opt-ins and freebies and helping you grow your business and drive your traffic that way. They also take care of hosting your courses, where you can put in all of your courses and give access. You can actually also collect payment through Podia. It's amazing. It's so all in one, and it's so easy to use, and it's so intuitive. The best part is they have amazing customer support. Hands down, some of the best customer support I have ever experienced. And I've tried a lot of things out there. The great thing that they've done for us is, even though they already have a stellar, super low, affordable, no-brainer price, their pricing is actually much lower for their highest level. They have two different levels, mover and shaker. That's still more affordable every month than some of these other guys' most affordable programs. So, and you get a lot more stuff. You get the email, you get all of the hosting, you get everything. They also have little templates in there that you can use if you're setting up a basic sales page, and they just make it so easy. They make the flow so easy, and they've given us a discount. So all of the listeners of today's show, not only are you going to get their already low pricing, but they've also agreed to give you an additional 15% off for life. So regardless of which program that you decide to go with, whether it's the mover or the shaker, you'll get that 15% off. Even if you bounce in between the two, you'll still get that 15% off forever. They also have an introduction where if you use the same code, you can also hop in, take a look around, get your free trial, no credit card required, see if you love it, and I'm sure you will. And then when you do decide, yep, I love it, which might be the same day, you can go ahead and get started with your discount, that lifetime discount of 15%, and get creating and get your sales and all of your automation started. So I hope that you enjoy Podia as much as I do. Happy creating! All right, ladies. I have an extra special guest for you today. He is one of my all-time favorite podcast hosts. It's the one and only Lee Dumas from Entrepreneurs on Fire. He is such an amazing podcast host. He records 7 days a week from Puerto Rico. He is listed currently as one of the top 10 podcasts on iTunes. He's won the Best of iTunes award. He has done more than 2,000 amazing entrepreneur interviews on his show, including Tim Ferriss, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Gary Vee, and the list just goes on and on. The podcast was created exclusively for small business owners, and it aims to provide actual actionable steps for the listeners every single episode. John, also known as JLD, is known for posing thought-provoking questions that can also shed light on guest entrepreneurial's highs and lows. Notably, the podcast won Best of iTunes award for its superb content. If you're looking for a business podcast that you can listen to every single day, that's right, 7 days a week, Entrepreneur on Fire is for you. He conducts a fresh interview every single day. Without much further ado, let's dive in.
Okay, so I wanted to start off with just a couple of questions for you. What made you decide to even start a podcast?
Honestly, it was a void in the marketplace that I said, somebody's got to fill. Why not this guy? Like, why not make that happen? Because I was just a consumer of podcasts. I loved listening for years as I was driving to work, as I was working out, as I was folding laundry, like whatever it might be. Like, I just loved the medium of podcasting. I loved listening to podcasts. And one day I said, I'm going to go find that show that interviews a successful entrepreneur 7 days a week, because those are the shows I like best. And I went to find it, Amie, didn't exist. And I said, whoa, this is an opportunity. And like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. I went forth and I created the first ever daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. And that was 7 years ago. That was 2,200 episodes ago. And Amie, I was the best daily podcast host from the minutes I launched that podcast. I was also the worst. I was also the only, and that's the key here, is when you open up a new field, when you niche down and you launch that thing, you're it. Even if people didn't like my show, they were stuck with me because there was nothing else. It was like back in the day when there were 3 television channels. Like, you may not like what's on TV, but that's all you got. Sorry, but that's it. And so that was my story to launching a daily podcast. It took me a long time to actually become a good podcaster. But hey, when you do it daily, when you put in the reps, things happen.
Yeah, that's the whole practice makes perfect thing. And it got you straight to the best of iTunes.
It did. It was a great journey. It was a lot of fun. I get to speak with a lot of really awesome people like yourself, and it's just been a blast.
Oh, well, we're so excited to have you here today. So I know that you kind of mentioned that, you were filling a gap in the market, but was it your vision? Did you know from day one that, like, all right, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to crush this. I'm going to have like the top podcast. I'm going to be, the best of the best. I'm going to have thousands of interviews and I'm going to interview like the top people in the industry.
This is what I knew. I was going to be a really bad podcaster for a significant amount of time. I had never podcasted. I had never interviewed. I had never hosted. I had never sat down and communicated with somebody like in that kind of format before. And guess what? We all stink at whatever it is that we do the first time. The first time we walk, the first time we talk, the first time we run, the first time we ride a bike, like you name it, growing. I mean, it's everything. And I knew I was going to be bad. But that's another reason why I knew I had to put in the reps. I had to do it every single day to get a little bit better every single time I had a conversation. And I knew that, hey, worst case scenario, nobody listens. I'm still going to be connecting with really cool people, interviewing them about really cool things, asking the questions that I want to ask, the curiosities that I have getting answered. Again, that was my worst case scenario. And I said, if that's the worst case after 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, then hey, I've learned a lot. I've gotten MBA's worth of information through these conversations.
Heck yeah, I can absolutely agree with that. The wealth of knowledge that comes through just having a connection with other people is so vast and so incredible, and really it's ultimately priceless.
Priceless.
And so when you were a bad podcaster in the beginning, did you ever feel like quitting? And if you did, how did you overcome that feeling?
So I felt like quitting all the time because I'm like, man, this is hard work. Man, this is challenging. Man, I'm not good at this. Man, I'm tired of being awkward and nervous and bumbling and stumbling and all these things, of course. But I kept just going back to the core. Like, why did I create this? For people like myself who wanted this type of content. And every now and then I'd get an email from somebody who loved the show. And I'm like, what is this person smoking right now? Because man, they love this show. What? Like, it would kind of baffle me that they'd be like, man, you're such a good interviewer. And I'd be like, wow, this person obviously has never heard a good interviewer before. But I use those things as kind of like fuel. And I just kind of continued to take every single piece of positive feedback I got and amplify it by 100 to just kind of keep my motivation and excitement going. And, there's plenty of negativity that comes out as well. I try my best to block that out and just keep my eye on the prize, having great conversations with great entrepreneurs and sharing it with the world.
Amazing. What kind of tips do you have for somebody who's just starting out in a podcast or has that like inkling that maybe I should start a podcast?
You need to think of 2 things before you start a podcast. Number 1, are you going to be consistent? And number 2, do you have a micro niche that's worthy of a podcast? If you can say yes to both of those things, then you should go forth and conquer, because that's what it's going to take in 2019 and beyond. You have to be consistent, whether that's weekly or daily or twice a month. Like, figure it out, get on a schedule, and produce your content consistently. But that's not enough anymore. You've got to pair that with being a micro niche dominator. What is that thing? Like organic yarn knitting. Like, I just came up with that out of nowhere just by like taking 3 random words and putting them together. Like, you have to have a micro niche, so you have the opportunity to dominate that niche and become the person in that area. Otherwise, you're just another voice screaming in this loud world, and you're going to get ignored. But if you think you can be consistent, if you think you have a micro niche that you can really dominate, then take freepodcastcourse.com. It's completely free. And by the end of that course, which is pretty short, you'll know if you want to be a podcaster.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Let's talk about the micro niche for just a second. I feel like, you know, in the grand scheme of things and all the highlight reels and everything you see on social media, everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody wants to have that niche. Everybody wants to do all these grand things. But really, the new thing and like the hot commodity are micro influencers and micro niches. Do you want to kind of give us your take on the micro niche?
The micro niche is where it's at, and for a lot of reasons. Because listen, if I want to figure out what the best hiking socks are, I don't want to go to Kim Kardashian and she's like recommending some hiking socks because like they're paying her $100,000. That girl's never gone hiking a day in her life. But if I go and find some like grizzled old veteran who like lives in Alaska and like does Instagram and like he's hiking and he's like, these socks wick away the sweat and they keep my feet warm. I'm like, yes, those are the socks that I want right there, because that person does it. He's in the mix and he's actually using the product. And that's the micro type niche you need to have. And also, like, if you are creating a product or a service, by the way, you want to go find those micro influencers, because that guy in Alaska, if I offer him $50 to like promote this product or that product, if he, you know, if it's a great product and he hopefully really believes in it and he decides to do it, he's probably going to take that because he doesn't have this massive following. He doesn't have people knocking down his door. So you can go out there and find micro influencers and really help them blow your brand up, because frankly, they A, don't really know their own worth, and B, you know, they're kind of scrapping right now. Like, they need that $50, that $200, that $1,000, where, you know, again, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars for like the Kardashians to post one of your things. And you're just not going to be able to invest that kind of money in that kind of thing, number one. Number two, it's not going to give you as good of an ROI, especially when you have a niche product or service or community that you are promoting or that you are, you know, trying to serve out there in the world. So that's my little spiel on micro influencers.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I feel like a lot of people tend to sell themselves short based on some of those vanity numbers. They think, oh, I only have, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 followers, or maybe even 1,000. But I mean, I have a colleague who, she's part of my sales team. She has 3,000 followers on Instagram and makes multiple 6 figures.
So that's a great example. And she has obviously identified her worth because she has engaged followers. She has people that really value her opinion, trust her opinion, and will take action on her opinion. So that's where it's at.
Yep, I totally agree. All right, just a couple more quick questions. You've interviewed some of the top names out there, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, Gary Vee. Tell us who's still on that interview bucket list. This one's just kind of for fun.
There's really nobody on my bucket list. I mean, if Obama comes at me or Oprah comes at me, I mean, I'm not going to say no to these people, but I really don't have a super bucket list. I'm just kind of a big believer where I'm at right now. I get about 400 requests per month. And I just really believe that the right people kind of gets to the finish line of being a guest on Entrepreneurs on Fire because they really care. They're really excited. They have a really unique, interesting masterclass to teach. So I'm just really happy with how the process works. And I feel like the right people always find their way onto my schedule and are excited about it and deliver great value. And that's kind of where I want to keep it.
I absolutely agree. I love listening to your show. And even as like a baby entrepreneur, I was like, oh man, there's so much stuff here. And it took me a while before I actually realized like, oh my gosh, this is like, he records every single day.
Yeah.
So if you could give us one tip as we wrap up for getting from starting brand new in our micro niche to, getting to that 1 million downloads, what would that tip be?
It would be this, and I'm going to craft this for your audience.
Okay.
Don't try to become a woman of success, but rather become a woman of value. So many people are just chasing success. They're doing what they think they need to do to get to 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million listens. And that's the wrong path to go. Focus and only focus on becoming a woman of value, somebody that's just giving real solutions and value to real problems and pain points that your ideal listener / avatar has. That quote is an Albert Einstein quote. It's spurred me to launch a daily podcast, and it's led me well ever since.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That's like the perfect quote ever. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your super busy schedule to give us so much insight and share all of these little tidbits with our Moms Making Money audience. I feel like you've given us a ton of value.
Well, listen, I enjoyed being on. I love the focus and the niche that you've gone down with the mums, and I think that's super important. And that's kind of, I think, the theme that we've been talking about here today, and the challenge I would throw everybody else out there is, what is your micro niche? And if you honestly can't snap your fingers and say it and be honest with yourself that it is a micro niche, then it's time to niche down.
And not be afraid to niche down.
Got to niche down.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And everybody, make sure that you scroll down and get that free podcast training. We'll put the link in the show notes for you so you can grab it super easy. And be sure you hop over to Entrepreneur on Fire and give him a follow and a quick review.
Thanks, Amie. I appreciate it.